And so
Assassins, freed Valaha. I'm vibing. I'm vibing.
That's most definitely what's up.
up, Chooms? How you doing? How you doing? Welcome. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. How you doing? You doing good? You feeling lively? Oh, let me get your sweet, lovely comments on screen so everybody in the VOD can see. Paste. There we go. Missed you, Poppy? I missed you too, baby. I missed you. Chooms, rise up. Whoop, whoop. Never mind. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. How's everybody doing? How's everybody doing? Everybody feeling good? Let's see. Yeah, no, we're all feeling good. We're all living life. Living the dream. Those Bethesda leaks though, do you mean the Xbox leaks or are there Bethesda specific leaks that I missed? If you're referring to the Xbox leaks, then yes. Lots to talk about there. Dude, it's so bad. It's so bad. There's so much stuff too. Oh man. I mean, one thing to bear in mind is that a lot of the slides that leaked about like the remaster or remake of Red Dead, a lot of those slides were actually from 2020. So they're probably not relevant anymore. So I know some people were like, oh, see, they are working on a remake of Red Dead. I would not be surprised if that remake was canceled and they just did the quick port. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all, especially after the GTA debacle with that trilogy that they put out. Liza P seems good. Hope Lords of Fallen is good too. Yeah, no, Liza P is very, very good. Especially being a Game Pass title, it's a steal. That thing's amazing. God Howard will deliver Fallout 3 Remastered. That to me is a no-brainer, but I think, again, like talk about rose-tinted glasses. That's one of those games I went back and tried again. I don't think we ever did a video on it. Maybe I should add that to the production calendar. Let me just add that real quick to our October lineup real quick. This is how I come up with videos. I'm just rambling and I'm like, oh, that would probably work. So I did go back and try it, not for a video though. And I was shocked at just like, even New Vegas feels like a couple of big steps forward. Fallout 3 isn't bad, but it shows its age. So I think they need to remake it. If it's just a remaster, I will honestly be pretty bummed. Because like you thought Starfield load screens were bad. I don't even know what to tell you, dude. Spider-Man 1.5's gotten gold, so that's exciting. Oh, Devesh, you coy little bugger, you. Yeah, Spider-Man 1.5. Yeah, it's that game is looking very good. Starfield died faster than Pokemon Go. Is Pokemon Go dead? I actually saw, we were at a park with Lockie playing just on the swings and stuff. And there was like a herd. What's a gaggle of nerds called? What's like, you know how it's a murder of crows, a school of fish? What is it for nerds? Is it like a nerder? A nard of nerds. A nard of nerds. I like that. So yeah, we saw a nard of nerds and they were playing, I can only assume was Pokemon Go. They all did the thing where they walked through the park and then they got to a gym and they all huddle up in a circle and just start swiping and stuff. I was like, wow, that's refreshing. Last time I saw that happening regularly was like 5 years ago. It was like 2018, I think, is when it really blew up. So, wow. Yeah. Anyway, Nashman, thank you also for the 2. Phil S had some wild comments in the leaked docs. Yeah, some of them were straight up wild. Some of them I think were him just talking to his bosses and trying to like talk up the biz. Because one of the things that was revealed in these docs is that Game Pass has seen no growth from the announcement of the Activision merger to today. which is surprising. Like, you would think that they announced the merger and then all of a sudden people start to really pivot towards Xbox. To me, it's probably indicative of a lot of denial and people not being sold on the merger going through. So they don't want to, like, if they're a Call of Duty player, they're not going to sell their PS5 and get an Xbox until they have to, right? Like, they're not going to bother with it. And even then, it's still going to be coming to PlayStation, so they're just going to put up with it. But it still was surprising that they've seen basically no growth. It hasn't, like, they haven't lost subs, but they're still at 25 million after all this time, which I think is just surprising. God Emperor Sofa
God
King.
Emperor Sofa King super chatted $4.99.
Thank
I
you.
think the funniest thing about this whole situation is, well, everybody was losing their crap about this filled with playing Starfield.
Everyone was losing their crap with this Phil playing Starfield. Oh, with this Phil playing Starfield. Yeah, I think it's the whole Starfield thing. Like, I know it's a meme now. Everybody in the chat is like, Starfield's dead, LOL. Especially because Phantom Liberty is reviewing pretty well, which I'll talk about in a moment because I have a review made. Not publishing it because I can't because of CDPR, but we'll get to that. But I feel bad. I made Jacob stay up all night editing it because we didn't realize until this morning. I sat down and I got a fresh email from CDPR and I read through it very carefully and I was like, oh my God, they're doing the same thing. They're not letting us use our own footage. Oh, geez. So yeah, I can't. I have the review done. It is uploaded to YouTube, ready to publish. I can't hit publish though because I'm not allowed to, which is so stupid because it's like, it's a very good expansion. They should be very proud of it, but they aren't letting reviewers show their own captured footage. So I'm just here. It's really weird. Can you say if it's good? Yeah. No, I loved it. I think it's very, very good. I think it completes the Cyberpunk vision. I think it's very, very good. I just can't show you stuff. It's just weird. Like, that's why they said, like, you can do a written review. You can type out your thoughts. You can use your own screenshots, but you can't use your own footage. Maybe because of spoilers? Maybe, but they allow you to use your own screenshots. And they don't have guidelines on what screenshots you can and can't share. So you could, according to the NDA, take screenshots of like a huge plot twist and put that in your review. So it doesn't make sense. Can I say when Phantom Liberty starts? Yeah, I think they've said it publicly already. It starts after Act 1. So like once you get through the Voodoo Boys bit, you should be able to do it. Because I mean, then that makes sense because the new area is directly adjacent to Pacifica. So once you get through that portion of the story, it makes sense that then that would open up. So that's how it is. How's Idris in it? Oh, dude, he steals the show. Like, I was worried as I'm. Let me show you what happens with some other movie actors when they get involved in when they get involved in video games. Hold on, let me pull it up. Where is it? Oh, it was on here. It is. It was on the timeline. So Megan Fox, she is a voice actor in Mortal Kombat 1, playing Nitara. And a bunch of people think that it's actually AI. It's not actually her. And this is why, okay? Are you ready? However bad you think this line delivery is going to be, it's worse, okay? Just listen to this if you haven't heard it somehow. Okay, ready?
We can't help what we are. That we feed on blood doesn't make us evil.
We can't help what we are. That we feed on blood doesn't make us evil. You know what? You want to know what's really sad about that? Is that she probably made more money doing that than you will make over the next decade. Just take that in, okay? If that doesn't make this even more laughable and ridiculous. I don't know what else to tell you. It's crazy. Yeah, she's known for her acting skills. Yeah. I mean, her performance in that original Transformers movie was... I was about to be like a total... I was going to be like, it was very bulbous or something. Like, it was... Oh, man. If I had to give it a rating, I would have given her performance a double D or something. Oh, God. But no, Idris Elba is unironically a very, very good actor. And so sometimes, like movie actors or TV show actors, they'll get into video games and it just doesn't translate the same. They're just not that good at it. But Idris Elba does a very good job all the way through. And I even tested it with like some of the branching dialogue options you can do. And like, no spoilers, of course, but let's just say there's a point in the story where you can choose between two options and it will totally pivot off. And either he will like really like you or he will hate your freaking guts. And his performance in both situations was stellar. Like just stellar. Really, really well done. So he lives up to all of the hype. He's great. Honestly, he kind of makes Keanu look like an amateur. He's just every little delivery, every nuance is fantastic. And Keanu Reeves is back, of course, with new dialogue and new stuff and everything. And Idris Elba is just stellar. Yeah, like LeBron, horrible actor, great hooper. Is that the term for a basketball player? A hooper? Hold on, you guys are being too generous. I'm losing track. Let's see. Member became a member. Thank you, member, for becoming a member. No message, retracted. Okay, well, thank you, my friend. Russell, do you think it's weird that we haven't gotten any news from Modern Warfare 3 Remastered, even though it's the perfect time to do it? It is a little weird that they've been very quiet, but they might also just be like, maybe it's not worth the money right now, and they're just like, hey, we're gonna try to keep the budgets a little smaller this time. I don't know, but it is weird. It is weird. Let's see, and then Alphatron. Yeah, thank you also for that. Yeah, it's just weird. It's weird. We did get a zombie trailer yesterday. Okay, so they're doing stuff. It might also be that they're doing stuff and I'm just not aware of it because I don't pay that much attention to them anymore. How would I say it compares to Blood and Wine? It's smaller. So Blood and Wine can add like anywhere from 20 to 40 hours to The Witcher 3. Hearts of Stone is about 15 hours, probably like 12 to 15, but it's very narrative focused. Phantom Liberty is closer to Hearts of Stone. I personally like Hearts of Stone more, just because I love the narrative in it, and it's very touching, and I just think it's a little bit better. But I'm biased. I love The Witcher 3, so take that with a grain of salt. But I would probably put it like Hearts of Stone at the top, and then Phantom Liberty, and then Blood and Wine. Not because Blood and Wine isn't great, but like Phantom Liberty really does, paired with the 2.0 update, make Cyberpunk 2077 feel like the game we all wanted from the start. And it's really, really good. Really, really good. L-Take, I know. What did you expect? My name is Luke, of course. Luke Take right there. No, I like Blood and Wine is great, but I just personally love Hearts of Stone. Do you think it's worth picking up for the 2.0 update? Love The Witcher 3, by the way. Honestly, after the 2.0 update, I can barely talk. It's very good. They completely reworked skill trees. They completely reworked how the weapon scaling works, how crafting components work. They reworked looting. They reworked XP. They reworked like now there's vehicle combat. You can shoot out of the car while you're driving it. There's so many things that they tweaked and improved in so many great ways. So like honestly, I'd say it's worth checking out now, especially if it's been interesting to you for a while. It's very, very good. How about AI? Oh yeah, new police system that's much more akin to like GTA 5 or like the Mafia games. So that's also very, very good. General combat AI is also improved. I still don't think it's like top of the market. It's not gonna like it's not as good as say like The Last of Us Part 2 or something, where the characters are calling each other's names and whistling to communicate across the map and stuff. It's not like that, but for the game and the combat as it is, I think it is good. I didn't notice any like times where the characters are just like standing the wrong way, looking away while their friends are being murdered behind them, you know. How demanding is the game after 2.0? That's a very good question. No joke. The entire time I was playing it, my CPU was locked at like 90 to 100 degrees Celsius. And it's on like the 360 millimeter water cooled loop and everything. It will pretty much max out your CPU utilization the entire time you're playing it. It is very demanding. To be fair, I was running it on the overdrive mode with the crazy like path tracing stuff with DLSS 3.5 with the path reconstruction. The game looks stupid good, which is why it's all the more baffling that they didn't let us actually put our own footage out, but yeah, you know what, their loss. But let's see. I'm replying to a comment on the new video. Anyway. Yeah, this is the last time they're using the Red Engine. Pretty sure. I think you're right. NPC and traffic AI. NPCs, at least on my end, seemed much denser. So that was good. Behaviors seemed much more naturalistic. I didn't see the thing like in the previous versions where the NPCs just walk like face first into each other and then stand there kind of confused and then waddle away. It wasn't like that. The general behaviors seemed greatly improved, which was awesome. Police behaviors are much better, I think, as well. Yeah, just in general, it seems very, very good. How are the procedural side quests? So that was kind of like, that's something they talked a little bit about, was that they were going to have this new never-ending procedural side content. And basically what it is like, if you go to an area on the map, let's just say Dogtown. I'm going to pull up MS Paint. Shocker, I know. If you go to a very particular spot on the map, and let's just say this is the map area, you got like your roads going through it, whatever. They have a spot with like enemies all in here. And then a couple of buildings. You guys are too generous right now. I swear I'll catch up on the super chats in just a second. Thank you, my friends. Thank you. Much love. I love you dearly. So what they'll do is like, as you're driving along, right about here, you'll see like a drop pod come in with like red smoke going off of it. And it'll come in and land in the middle of this like enemy encampment, like right there, or maybe over here. And it's supposed to be like a supply drop for them, and it's filled with all sorts of really high level weapons, crafting components, clothes, stuff like that. And it's dynamic, so it just happens while you're exploring the map. And so at this point, you can keep going to your objective marker, or you could pull off and go in, fight them, get the loot, and continue on your way. What was frustrating to me is that it seemed as though it spawned every single freaking time, like without exception. So no matter what you were doing, if you drove on this road one would spawn in. So it didn't feel really dynamic. It just felt like an event that always
Kalen
triggers.
Petrov super chatted $5.58.
Thank you, Kalen. Big deal? No, you can just ignore it if you want to. It's really not a big deal at all. But over the course of just like the first 12 hours going through the story, I saw the same drops like easily 5 to 10 times, like easily. But not a big deal. Like I said, I think it's a good addition. And eventually, if you're just kind of like sick of it, you can just ignore it. But there's that. There's all new like carjacking missions, which I actually liked. They kind of flexed the combat in cars because basically you'll be running and exploring Dogtown, for example. You'll find a car parked somewhere that it's kind of like you're a repo man. That's kind of how it works. So you pull off. You grab the car. You might have to take out a couple guys that are guarding it because it's stolen or whatever else. And then you have to drive off. And I mean, technically you're stealing it, but then you take the car and drive it to a location, usually not in Dogtown. It's like 5 kilometers on the other side of Night City in the desert. So you then have to drive it while trying to evade the faction that you took it from. And you know, you fire at them, you try to shake them, and then the police might get involved as well. So it's interesting. It certainly has the feeling of like dynamic content. It doesn't feel super hand built, but at the same time, that's how you can unlock new guns, new vehicles that have guns on them. Again, I would love to show you because I bought a very expensive like Humvee like reinforced truck that has a machine gun and rocket launchers built into it. It's pretty silly. It's pretty stupid. It makes encounters like this kind of broken because you'll just pull up and then you can just like start unloading with your machine guns into them and then also launch rockets in and all hell breaks loose. But it's fun. And like I said, it's a very expensive truck, so it's not something you're going to be getting early on. It's like 150,000 eddies, but once you get it, it's awesome. It's awesome. Compensating for something with that? Oh, for sure. Luke, do you play this after being the original main quest, or does it fit in between? It fits in between. So, like I said earlier, you'll start it pretty much after Act 1, or after you get through Pacifica. You'll then, and like the Voodoo Boys stuff, then the events will trigger and it'll kick in. Similar, I think, to how it's been a while, but I'm pretty sure The Witcher 3's DLC, you also didn't have to finish the main story. It was just like, I think it was after you go to Skellige, it unlocked. I'm pretty sure. I think that's how it worked. I don't remember exactly when it unlocked, though. Murtaza, awesome. You did the thing. That's great. I love it. But yeah, it works really well.
Emperor Sofa King super chatted $4.99.
Thank you, Sofa King.
I wonder if this DLC has some type of affect on the ending you get at the end of the vanilla experience of the game. Fingers crossed, I hope so.
What I will say is that there is a new ending you can get if you make the right choices throughout the expansion. I thought it was better than a couple of the endings in the base game. Not my favorite, but better than a couple of them, for sure. And I don't think it would be considered the canonical ending, for sure. But I thought it was an interesting ending I would love to talk about, but obviously if I talk about it, it'll spoil it. But yeah, last time they were all over the place. They were all over the place, or they were totally underwhelming. Like I don't know if any of you guys were in stream, because we were on Twitch at the time with like 15 viewers, and I streamed us trying to get the secret ending, which is basically where you have to make very precise decisions and conversations with Johnny, And then you get the option to just run into Arasaka Tower yourself with Johnny in like a suicide mission. And it's the most difficult ending to get because you have to make very precise dialogue choices during the oil field event or quest. And then you also have to overcome like a very difficult combat challenge. It's very, very difficult to do. But if you can get through it, you get this secret ending. And unfortunately, it's just the same cutscene as what you get with the other endings, but you got to it a different way. And it pissed me off so bad. I was like, I just grinded. I went back like 10 hours in my save to make the right dialogue choices, played all the way back up to this point, went through this super difficult thing going through the tower by myself. And it's the same just cutscene and nothing else has changed. Like, it was so underwhelming, but so underwhelming, man. Let's see where were I? Gotta catch up on all these. You guys are crazy generous today. I am not ready for it. Let's see. I read that one. Oblivion Remaster, Elder Scrolls 6, 3 years after Starfield. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that they were saying before the acquisition that's now changed, because it seems as though they delayed Starfield and they've given them more time to work on Elder Scrolls 6. I don't think ES6 is coming until probably 2027 would be my guess. Let's see. Did they touch backgrounds or add dialogue for them? Oh geez, I don't know in what context this was. Touch backgrounds or add dialogue for them. In the context of Phantom Liberty, the dialogue is all top-notch and stellar. There are some new characters that are interesting. NPC dialogue is the same as always. It's just like you walk up to somebody, you try to talk to them, and they're just like drugged out of their minds or something, or they say something totally irrelevant. So none of that's been changed, but the core dialogue throughout all of the quests and everything is still top-notch. What is going to be your game of the year? Also, Cyberpunk released this year in its current state. Would it be your game of the year? I'm honestly not sure. I'm not sure. Like, if it just launched as it is now, I like the core eccentricities of Cyberpunk are still present. So it's not like they magically added wall running now, like they said they were going to do. I also have a frustration, the same thing I said about Fallout 4, where if you take the main story really seriously, you miss out on most of the side content because V is dying. And so if you try to focus on the main story and resolve that as quick as you can, you'll just end up missing out on all the side content. So I don't like that. And of course, that's not changed. They find a good way to explain why you can justify participating in the expansion with V's situation. So they get out of it that way. But like the core issues in terms of like theme or writing in the main story and stuff is still there with Cyberpunk in the base game. I think overall the package is probably a 9, but Baldur's Gate 3 I think is like a 15. So I would probably still give it to Baldur's Gate 3, but that's not a diss to anything else that's released this year. It's just because Baldur's Gate is that good. Baldur's Gate is just like a once in a generation game. It's just ridiculous. It's just straight silly. So, who knows? Gollum too. Yeah. Are you planning to review Alan Wake 2? I'm open to it. I just honestly don't know if my audience is that interested in the game. If they are, I will happily send the emails and we'll get it going. But I honestly am just not sure if my audience is that interested. If Cyberpunk released this year, would Starfield look even worse? Without a doubt. I mean, one of the things you'll see when you go and play Phantom Liberty, you'll likely, I encourage you, start from the beginning. Go through from the very beginning all the way through the expansion and then through the rest. And I encourage you to do that because it'll showcase just how crazy the game is. All of the improvements and new skill trees, new tutorials, everything will be very refreshing. But you see what a current gen open world adventure RPG is supposed to be like. And it honestly makes Starfield feel like it's held together with rubber bands and silly putty. Like, it's ridiculous. Wouldn't mind a quick 10-minute review on it. Yes, do Alan Wake. Okay, I can send emails. We'll see if they send it over. That'd be cool. Is the Spider-Man 2 review in the future? I'd be open to it. I wouldn't say no. But you just never know. I mean, you're not entitled to any reviews, of course, with Sony or anybody else. So I honestly just don't know. But I will add that to my list just to follow up on, send more emails and stuff, see if I can get a hold of anybody. Hey, Luke, do a review for every game that exists. Okay. Do I think Todd Howard will ever get a haircut? No, I think he's one of those guys. Like, if he grew a mustache back in the 80s, I think he'd still have a mustache. I think he just has figured out what works for him and he's not changing it. It might be because, like, you know how some people, they cut their hair really short and then you're like, oh my God, you have a gigantic, like, your head looks like a peanut on a toothpick. Maybe he's got one of those funky heads. Maybe it just doesn't work to do like a high and tight. You never know. He might have a peanut head. Happens to the best of us, you know? Okay, let me continue catching up on these. Ricky Freddy, thank you for the 2. Would you say Cyberpunk got a No Man's Sky like comeback? No Man's Sky is so exceptional just because they added like thousands of hours of content. So it's tricky. I would say, like, at this point, in the context of Cyberpunk being the kind of game it is, I would say probably, yeah, they've spent years improving it, getting performance up. The 2.0 update reworks most of the systems I was pissed off at, like the terrible inventory system, the fact that augmentations and cyberware was like the core thing in the world of Cyberpunk. And it was so expensive and difficult to get that most players never got beyond like mantis blades or something in the base game. And now they've totally reworked it. They changed it so now your clothing does not give you armor. All of the armor stats are tied into your cyberware. So you actually have to go to a Ripper dock to improve your armor capacity and things, and then you can upgrade it there, which makes so much more sense. Of course, they have the ability to just transmog if you have an outfit you like, but you want to wear other clothing because it might offer you like 6% reload speed improvements or something. You can do that. So they've reworked all of that. I think we're actually on stream once it launches and we're allowed to show it. I'm going to be doing a run here where we're just doing melee focused on cyberware, where we're going to come in and we're just going to do like the gorilla fists and the mantis blades, and we're just going to go full cyber psycho, and it's going to be cool. It's going to be cool. Thank God for transmog. Yeah, but there's so many things that they've added to improve the overall experience of Cyberpunk. In a lot of ways, it feels like a different game. It's like if you've never played it, or if you have not played it since 2020, dude, you are in for an actual treat. It's going to feel like a different game. Like, in a lot of ways, Cyberpunk 2.0, as it is now, is like more of a sequel than a lot of sequels are. Like, you compare the added mechanics and shifted stuff from like Valhalla. Oh, I'm sorry.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Coming off of Odyssey. In some ways, they took features away. It actually was worse, in my opinion. But that was a sequel, but barely improved. Cyberpunk 2.0 versus the original game, night and day. It feels like a sequel. It's ridiculous. How hard is the new police system? So difficulty is an interesting question. Because they've changed the skill trees, they have a couple of skills that I think are probably too powerful, frankly. The overall expansion and the 2.0 update, I think, makes the game a good bit easier. Specifically because if you just buy, like, I think it's a total of 5 perk points, and then, like, it's the basic features of, I think, the body skill tree. Again, I would love to show you, but I can't. But basically, like, you can get these perks that give you passive healing, and they can multiply the effect depending on how many enemies are in close proximity. You can multiply it even higher if you're sprinting, for example. So there were moments where I was like, I was in a pretty intense combat sequence, and I'm surrounded by tons of enemies. My health drops to like 20 HP, and I just like turn around, get behind cover, and sprint to that cover. And by the time I'm there, my HP is back up to 100, and then it keeps refilling very, very quickly. Honestly, like, I think in combat, I'm not sure if I died once in the entire expansion, honestly. Except for the, well, there was a bug I encountered where I got like teleported into rafters and I couldn't get out and they had to kill me for me to reload. So I guess that would count. But in terms of like actual combat, it was very, I felt it much easier this time around. What difficulty setting? For my reviews, I always go on whatever the default is. So the normal is what I played this on. But for subsequent runs, I'd recommend going a little bit higher just because it is a good bit easier. At least if you use those those perks to get the passive healing. And then there's other like cyberware you can get to amplify that even more. I mean, you can get it to the point where basically you could take like a sniper shot to the face and then just kind of shake it off over 10 seconds and be back at full health.
Super chatted $4.99.
Thank
you.
Should
I wait to restart when the update drops, or should I restart my playthrough today?
The update, the update drops tomorrow. I would honestly just wait till tomorrow because so many things have changed. And when the update drops, it's going to prompt you to respec your entire character. It's going to prompt you to redo all this stuff. And a lot of core mechanics are going to change. So like stamina, they've changed stamina. So now stamina isn't when you sprint and run. Stamina is now like
Justin Stoll super chatted $5.
An endurance bar for shooting.
Sorry, late to the
It's
stream.
interesting. Thank you,
If
Justin.
I have already a lot of hours I Cyberpunk, but not completed, should I start a new game or just respec?
It's up to you. I would encourage you to just start over because so much has changed. And because the whole skill tree is rebuilt, it's like you're going to be building a character from scratch. And they give you the option to load into a previous save and just reapply all of your perk points and do that. That's fine. But yeah. Yeah, I would encourage you to probably start over and just to start tomorrow. Did they resurrect Jackie? No. No. Dude, looking at RT Overdrive, this game looks incredible. Again, I would love to show you. I mean, I wonder if they said I can share screenshots. So let me see if I can be a little coy real quick. Hold on. Coy is the word of the day. I just keep using it and I don't know why. Okay, let's try closing this. I'm going to try to show you a couple of my own screen grabs just to show you how insane this game can look. Because it is silly. Like when you're playing it on like a PS5 or Xbox Series X, it still looks good. But playing it on like a PC with that ray tracing overdrive, it's just not even fair. It makes every other game from every other studio look like they're not even trying. Like it's just ridiculous. Let's see. No, let's go here because this is where we do that. And also DLSS 3.5 with the ray reconstruction. I was playing overdrive at 4K and getting like 90 plus frames. It's magical. Like, it's actual magic. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how it works. It's some weird, crazy wizard math. Well above my pay grade, but It's ridiculously good. I can show you. Come on, Luke of the past, move a little. Hold on, I'm almost there, and then I'll show you a couple of like screen grabs. Oh my god, just I need Luke of the past to just move like 3 feet to the left, and this will be a perfect shot. But Luke of the past is an idiot. Come on. You're not gonna do anything for me? Okay. Well, I'll just show this. I'll show this as it is. So this is a screen grab, a screenshot. No movement, nothing. It's a single grab from the scene. This is a sequence like in an underground little area that I captured yesterday. And this is all path traced. All of the light is bouncing around like very, very delicately. It's just insane how finely lit the light from this one is bouncing off all the walls up off of this. This light is bouncing around. There's also a red light behind us, which is lighting up Reed right there. If I go forward to another screen cap, there's like this. No, this isn't a great example. Let me make sure. Oh yeah, this dialogue has nothing to do with anything. But like, just look at the delicate lighting on his face, the skin, the materials. It's all just outrageous. It's outrageous. There's one shot I have in mind of the city that I want to show, but I can't find it. Yeah, Idris Elba is so good. Honestly, he makes Johnny feel like very stiff in comparison, and Johnny's always been stiff, giggity. It's just Keanu Reeves, you know, his delivery is a little monotone, shall we say. It's just how Johnny does things, or how Keanu acts. But yeah, Idris Elba, man. Team Idris. It's crazy to think that it started in The Office and now he's here. He was in The Office and now this is what he's doing. That's great. I'm about it. Another screen grab. You can kind of see reflections, I guess. You naughty, naughty people. Yeah, I mean, some of these shots, just the lighting is insane. Look at the lighting on his face, like the delicate backlighting, everything. It's just ridiculous. Like, it's just insane. It's just crazy. So, again, I would love to show you. It's so stupid. Like, the game looks amazing. It plays great. The expansion's great. But they're like, yeah, don't show it to anybody. It's just like... Oh, man. Oh. CGI gameplay. Yeah, it's like... It's silly. I mentioned in the review that, you know that feeling you get when you're playing a game and then like it goes from a cutscene to gameplay smoothly, but you don't realize it's gameplay because it still looks so good. So you just end up sitting there like an idiot while it just is there. Happened to me all the time in Red Dead Redemption 2. In Cyberpunk, it happens all the time where you're just like, oh, that's beautiful. It's a weird cutscene. He's just... V's just standing there. Oh shit. Like, that's the whole the whole game. It's great. It's awesome. Luke, just show us 60 screenshots per second. They don't restrict you showing screenshots or how fast you could do them. Honestly, I think you could probably like get out of the NDA crap in a court like that. It's empty. Unless like the judge was being like, come on, dude. Do you think we're stupid? That's clearly a video. It constitutes a video, but it would be really funny to like throw a fit and do that. That would be funny. There it is. Listerine breath spray. It's actually like a weird tick of mine. I just constantly I like minty fresh breath. I don't know what to tell you. A sponsor? No, they should sponsor me. I've bought many of these things over the years. Let's see. Is the skill tree rework the only in the new expansion or come out along the 2.0? It comes along with 2.0. It comes along with 2.0. So there is a separate new skill tree that's specific to the DLC, but the 2.0 update reworks all the perks and everything by itself. So there are abilities you'll only get if you're playing the expansion, but otherwise, yeah, it'll come to 2.0. Is there third person in cutscenes? Only in the endings. So if you played Cyberpunk 2077, you'll know that it's first person through everything, and then right as like you finish the game, how you know you finished it is because they'll swap to third person, and they'll show a cutscene play out looking back at V separately, and that's how you're like, okay, I'm never gonna look back through their eyes again. And so it's the same kind of thing. It'll be first person through everything up until that ending. Yeah, Phantom Liberty as an expansion is $30, and the update with all the core like gameplay changes is free. Is your review going to drop on release day? Yeah, at this point I don't have much of a choice. We'll do a video tomorrow on the 2.0 update to the game because that's when that launches, so I'm allowed to show footage of that. And so we're going to do basically an I tried of the 2.0 update that'll go up tomorrow, where I can showcase everything. We won't be able to go to Dogtown or any of the expansion stuff, but I'll be able to show you how the actual 2.0 update works. Third person cutscene at the end of the expansion or end of game like before? End of the game. Like there's an additional new ending if you play the expansion very precisely. And I'm pretty sure in all of the endings it cuts to third person. Why are we still talking about Starfield? Are we still talking about Starfield? Just see a couple comments in chat. I'm like, what? What are we talking about? How long does it take to finish Phantom Liberty? It's like the story. If you're doing just the story, going from mission to mission to mission, it's about 12 hours. There's a bit where they force you to do a handful of side activities or gigs in order to like build up your reputation with somebody you need for the main story. And so like that, I guess you could say you could just do the 3 missions that they task you with, or you could do more. But I think most people are just going to wait till the end of the expansion to do that additional content. But yeah, it's about 12 hours. Probably there's like 15 hours to 18 hours of content. And then they have the dynamic stuff that like those supply drops we talked about earlier. That stuff is perpetual and will always happen and always reset. The map itself is smaller than you might think. It's not huge, but it's one of those where like you'll go through it, through the story guiding you, and it'll all feel fresh and consistent as you continue to explore. But after you're done with the story, I don't think there's going to be much reason to return to Dogtown. But that's probably the point. Like how I see it happening is that you're going to be playing Cyberpunk 2077. You're going to be grinding through the base game, and learning the new skills, perks, and all of that. You're going to reach about 10 to 15 hours in. And then you're going to be prompted to do this expansion because you'll pass the threshold to do it. You'll do the expansion for about 12 more hours. You'll now be at like 22 to 25 hours of gameplay. And then you'll leave Dogtown and continue doing all of the side content and the main story stuff in the rest of Cyberpunk 2077. And I think that's probably the best way to play it. You know, take it as a cool foray. And then you can continue. The nice thing is, if you do unlock the ending because you played the expansion properly, quote unquote, so you unlock the additional ending, they don't force you to like roll credits right then and there. So it's not like you have to stop playing at that point. You can continue playing, do the rest of the main story, the side content, all that stuff if you want to. So yeah, there's options. Yeah, there's a new ending. I think it's better than a couple of the endings in the base game. But there are still one or two endings in the base game I would consider better than this one. This one is very thought-provoking. I'm not going to spoil anything, of course. But it's very thought-provoking. It's very, very different from the endings in the base game. Very different. In a good way, I think. I don't know if it's what people would consider the good ending, but it's a very different. I think you could argue it's the good ending, though. You know, it's interesting. There's a lot. Yeah, Keanu rises from the grave or something, and then just comes back, and it turns into Red Dead Nightmare or something. Are there good endings already? Well, here's the thing. I don't know if you guys got to the ending of Cyberpunk, but basically there's an ending at Cyberpunk where it seems pretty clear they're setting it up for like a big heist mission in a space hotel. I think we all assumed that's what the DLC was going to be, and I kept holding out through the expansion that they were going to do something like that, and apparently they've just like abandoned those plans. I don't know if that's for like a DLC or a sequel or something, but it was really weird. I was like, surely that is going to be how they lead into all of this other stuff, and they just like totally didn't, because it was so specific. I thought surely this is for a DLC or something. This has to be the canonical ending, but as far as I know, they just are not doing that, which is weird. It's probably for the second DLC they had planned and canceled. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Yeah. What would be interesting, though, is now I want to know what's the canonical ending. Like, what is their official ending? That's something where I'm honestly not sure. How does it play on the Series X? Is there an improvement? As far as I'm aware, I didn't get to play it on the Series X. So, take it with a grain of salt. But they did provide me console B-roll to show roughly what it runs like and looks like on console, and it appears to run well. Oh, maybe I can't get it to play for some reason. Yeah, that's weird. It's just a blank video. Okay, well, I guess I can't show you. It looks good. I think the way it's been described is that console, like Series X and PS5, is approximately like medium to low settings with FSR2 enabled, which is still very good. Bear in mind, you cannot play 2.0, you cannot play Phantom Liberty on PS4 and Xbox One. They had to drop those consoles because they were not capable of running the expansion and everything they're doing. So, like, medium on a PS5 is still very, very good. They already confirmed the sequel and moved employees to starting next year. Yeah. No, they are... I don't know what their exact timelines were or if they've changed, but they're working on a new Witcher game. They're working on a new Cyberpunk game. Like they're working on all that stuff. When we'll see it, who knows? But hopefully soon. I mean, the coolest thing about Phantom Liberty for me is that it really does feel like it feels like they're back to their normal selves. Cyberpunk was such a weird fluke. It felt like, is this even the same company? Like, what happened? And I don't even think they know. I think they're also very confused at what happened with Cyberpunk 2077's launch. Because I think it was just a perfect storm of incompetence, of managerial, like managers over demanding, shocker, having strict deadlines for no clear reason, managers not being aware of the current state of the game or thinking it would just magically work out since they made The Witcher 3, and a bunch of stuff like that. Basically overconfidence and arrogance, I think. And then Phantom Liberty comes along and seemingly ties it all together with the 2.0 update. And now it's the game where that I think many of us were hoping it would be, which is very good. And it's a very, very good game. So it's pretty cool. It's far smaller than Blood and Wine, to be clear, Killmonger. Like, I love me some Blood and Wine. I love me some Hearts of Stone. It's definitely more of a Hearts of Stone DLC, where it's leaner. It's more linear in its approach. It's not just like a huge new 40-hour area for you to explore. But that's okay. Like, I personally like Hearts of Stone more than I love Blood and Wine, just because I find the story in Hearts of Stone so good and so compelling. But it just depends on how, like, what you prefer. They're both great. It just depends on that. And when we're talking about like what's your favorite, like honestly, who cares what my favorite is? You know, they're both great. They're both great. It's because you're obsessed with the mirror. Yes. Yes, for sure. For sure. Oh, you're right, Fantasy. I've got to keep catching up on super chats. I got distracted again. Kaylin, like I said, thank you for the super cool emoji super sticker. Appreciate you, my friend. Sofa King. Let's see. I wonder if this DLC has some type of effect on the ending you get in the vanilla experience. We talked about that. It won't affect the base game's endings, but it will add a new one that you can then select at the end, if that makes sense. Fantasy Files, thank you also for the 2. Does Phantom Liberty make the world itself more interactive? I don't think Phantom Liberty does. I think 2.0 tries to. With like more dynamic encounters, the police system being reworked. So now as you explore the city and the police get triggered because you accidentally ran over somebody or something, it changes how you navigate the city, because you're going to start looking for alleys to cut through to try and lose the police and stuff. Little improvements like that make a difference. So I think you'll start to find that you will be navigating Night City in a very different way than you used to, because the police system's been reworked. So there's a lot of stuff like that. As for like in Dogtown, how that changes it, they have new encounters and stuff. Honestly, Dogtown, like as I mentioned before, once you finish the story, I don't think you have much reason to hang out there. There's not that much stuff. And once you finish collecting those cars and stuff for the new car like repo missions and stuff, there's not a whole lot of reason to hang back. There are some like little side missions. There are some cool areas to look at, but you will have spent a lot of time in them throughout the motions of the story of the expansion. So I would guess most people are probably ready to move into the rest of the Night City by that point, you know. Yeah, the new ending is that you turn into Pavel. Yeah, that would be good. I'd like that. How is Idris's accent? It's good. There were a couple of words where I was like, I don't think you're American. Yeah, there were like a couple of words like that. But in general, it was very, very good. In general. Let's see. Rango, thank you for the 2. The next Witcher game should be game of the year. When we see it, we will see. But I mean, if they can keep up the same quality as Phantom Liberty and where they're at now with Cyberpunk, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a contender. I think it clearly would be. What's most baffling, though, about all of this is the Red Engine at this point is a very impressive piece of tech. Like, just what they're doing with path ray tracing and everything is insane. So to hear that they are walking away from the Red Engine and they're moving into Unreal Engine for all of their future games, that's very surprising. Like, they've done all of this crazy work in the Red Engine, even just for Phantom Liberty, and they're just walking away from it. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know how they're doing it or what their timelines are like. If it delays games by 3-4 years while they work on it, we'll see. But it's one of those weird things. Like, if Bethesda announced that they were walking away from the Creation Engine to go to Unreal, we'd all be like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But the Red Engine, it's like, dude, I am not joking when I say that I think probably at this point, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty is the best looking video game anything ever. Like, it is ridiculous. The scale, the scope, what they're doing technically with path tracing, and then with the DLSS 3.5 path reconstruction, it's outrageous. They have the best tech in the industry as of today of what we've seen. Maybe GTA 6 will come and just make it look like Child's Play, probably, but they should all go to Unity. Yeah, exactly. Can you imagine if after all this time, all these demands of people being like, BGS, guys, it's time. It's time to upgrade your engine. They're like, we've heard you. And Todd comes out. Hold on. Todd, come here. And Todd comes out finally and is like, okay, everybody. We heard you. We're going to finally update and change engines. Wild applause. Everybody's losing their minds. And then he goes, we're switching to Unity. Dead silence in the room. It would be so funny, dude. I don't think they're ever going to move. I think they're going to stick to Creation Engine perpetually, because why wouldn't they? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And I know for a lot of us, we feel that it's broke. But in Todd's words, he said, I don't think we need to do like the seamless transitions between planet, surface, and space, because I don't think that's important to our players. And he's totally right. Like, they don't care. As you can see, like in the comments and in the chat, they're like, people who really like Starfield are not bothered by that. It might drive us crazy after we play Phantom Liberty and we see what an actual current gen open world game is like, but the core fan base just doesn't care. So why would they change it? Why would they fix it? Swapping to Unity would be so funny. What a troll that would be. Oh man, that would be so funny. Let's see. Now that you've played both Baldur's Gate 3 and Phantom Liberty, what do you think? Why do you think Starfield's NPCs feel less alive and interesting when you talk to them? I think it's more than anything, it's probably just how they structured conversations. This is personal preference, so I'm going to be real. This is just my opinion. I'm not making any declarative statements, but I think the straight on camera view is one of the most uninteresting ways of having conversations with NPCs possible. And in 2023, I think we can do better, since in 2015, Bethesda was doing something better with their cinematic dynamic camera that they had. I don't know why they took the step back and started doing the straight on, like, thank you for coming to my shop. These are my wares. Look at my inventory. Like, I don't know why they shifted to that. It's so much worse than what they had working in Fallout 4. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. Oh, Jordan's sad. Jordan, everybody F's in the chat for Jordan. Jordan needs a hug. Can everyone give hugs in chat to Jordan? Everybody say hugs, Jordan. Big mad. Poor Jordan. Poor Jordan. So sad. So sad, Jordan. Oh. Anyway. Yeah, it's... I just honestly don't know why they took the step back. It was just better. It was just better. And what was the other game that also did the same thing? There was another one recently that we were talking about. I can't remember. There was another game that came out where it also was like, you guys did better like last time. Oh, it was Assassin's Creed. Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla
Also went and like they had in Odyssey this dynamic cinematic camera that was awesome. And then they pivoted and started doing like the weird like rotate camera with no cinematic camera angles at all, and it looks so much worse. It's like, you guys had the system working, why didn't you just like Control C, Control V? There's got to be something that I'm just totally missing, you know? Yeah, it's like you had this figured out. You had it figured out. Yeah, the really funny thing about people that come in and are like, Starfield's amazing, get on my level. I'm like, bro, you realize, like, this is how I know you didn't watch like my review or any of my stuff. Like maybe you're just hanging out on the subreddit or something. Like I said that I thought Starfield was like a pretty good game. I think it's a pretty good game. It has some serious issues, but like, I like the game. I still am playing it like actively. It's just so funny. But yeah, I think you're right. I think Jordan's trolling. I think so too. Let's see with this. So one of the other things that we have yet to talk about is the Phil Spencer leaks. Basically what happened, this is my understanding, is that the FTC and Xbox are in this big fight over the Activision deal. It's been going on forever. However, they filed a bunch of documents as part of that lawsuit, and somebody at the court made an oopsie. Basically, there were a bunch of documents that they were supposed to upload, and then there's like a little drop-down list where they have to select like classified or hidden from public view or whatever, and they didn't select that from the drop-down. So we just got an ocean of documents which were not supposed to be made to the public at all. Like tons and tons of internal documents, leaks over their upcoming consoles, new controllers, emails he sent out on the day of the PlayStation 5 reveal so that they could talk, like he was talking to Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, explaining his thoughts on their setup based on the PS5 reveal. All of this crazy, just crazy stuff. And of course, none of it was expected to be made public. So first and foremost, I mean, the obvious one to talk about is Project Brooklyn. This is the Xbox Series X refresh. Now, full clarity, or for full clarity's sake, this is not like a mid-gen like update to the console lineup. It is a Series X, just in a different form factor with some other things that they've done. So like, they have it's going to be 2 terabytes. It'll have USB-C in the front, reduced the power consumption by a good bit, 100% recyclable packaging, Wi-Fi 6E, Bluetooth 5.2, improved efficiency on the die, like a bunch of stuff like that. So it's like a mid-gen refresh. It's their version of like a slim console effectively, but it's cylindrical, which is interesting. They just were like, we did a weird rectangular cube last time, let's just do a cylinder this time, make a AA battery instead of a box of Cheez-Its. So you know what, it's an interesting design choice. I still personally prefer more bold look of like the PS5, but that's okay. It's not a big deal. And then with Project Sebile, I don't know. They announced this, or didn't announce this. This was in their slide deck as well, and it's the world's best controller now playing on a screen near you. And basically the pitch, as far as we can tell, is that it's supposed to be an like always everywhere controller that you can connect to whatever you want, whether it's a TV, whether it's a console, your phone, whatever. It's supposed to be your one console controller for everything. One interesting thing also is that they're shifting towards swappable, rechargeable batteries, which as of right now, they don't do. Right now, they use AA's, which actually for sustainability of like secondary markets, long-term, like legacy support is actually probably better. Like the fact that you can just get a Xbox One controller, throw some AA's in it and it works, that's awesome. Whereas like a PS3 controller, if it was used even moderately or even not at all, the lithium ion batteries inside are heavily degraded. So eventually the battery life is just going to be terrible or non-existent on a lot of these controllers unless they have the swappable batteries, which is actually a cool thing for like long-term collectors of this type of hardware. But it seems like they're striking an interesting balance going to swappable and rechargeable on these. Now, one thing just to bear in mind is that none of this is like locked and loaded and confirmed. It's probably going to look a little bit different when all is said and done. So yeah, it's just not locked and confirmed. So like, for example, one of the other things that was leaked in the emails was information about a Red Dead Redemption remake that was coming from Take-Two. And everybody saw this when these leaks dropped and was like, oh my God, it's confirmed. So they did that terrible port and now they're also doing a remake. Well, apparently the slide deck and the emails where that information came from was from 2020. And 3 years ago, as far as I understand it, it was still planned that they were going to be doing a remake. But after the GTA trilogy debacle, Take-Two is just like, just give them a straight port. It's fine. It's fine. We'll just do that. And it's just, I don't think that it's actually going to happen. I think that they probably pivoted and these are just holdover emails from all of this. Let's see. Let's see. I don't know what's happening. Okay, we'll just do that. There we go. I think I took care of it, Proto. I think we're good. Proto, I'm also just so you can't, because you're always in here. Boop-a-doop-a-doop. Hold on. There you go, Proto. Now you have a cool special badge and you can tweak stuff if you need to. Somebody signed my phone number up for like a hot sauce company. And so I just randomly get texts about new types of hot sauce that this like mom and pop shop are making. And I think it's probably like some dude just typed in his phone number wrong at the kiosk or made up a phone number or something. And but it's just funny. I get random texts about hot sauces and stuff. It's funny. It's funny. You're fine, Hero Brian. You're fine. Just trolls being trolls. But let's see. One of these other things that was interesting is that we finally got to hear what Phil Spencer said about the hole in their lineup in 2022. If it isn't ringing a bell, basically in 2022 there was like a 16 to 18 month glut in Xbox's lineups where they just didn't have any games to show or release at all. Everything got delayed. Apparently, most of this was because of COVID. So there were just a lot of problems that stacked up that caused this. But in this leaked email, he actually expresses a lot of these detailed concerns. So he's emailing Matt Booty, Jamie, Sarah, Jarrett West, Tim Stewart, all of these guys. This is Jamie's from ZeniMax, just a lot of big important people. And then he said, with the news that Starfield is going to miss holiday, bear in mind this was back in May of 2022, and he's also emailing on a Saturday. Phil working overtime, baby. Ooh. Yeah, M Booty, Matt Booty. What a name. What a name. So with the news that it's going to miss holiday, not broadly communicated yet, let's let Jamie manage that. Jamie being the guy from ZeniMax, so, you know, it's not widely known, so we're not going to spoil the news for everybody. But still not a ton of clarity on the launch date of Redfall and Stalker 2 development, so impacted by the war in Ukraine. I feel we are in a huge hole with our games lineup, both for platform marketing differentiation and our Game Pass content, which is absolutely true. They definitely were struggling with that. Marcel, thank you, my friend. Oh no, Proto, you're fine. No, Proto, I was giving you mods so that if you needed to do something, you could, just because I was like, you're always here. Why not? But no, you're good. I just hid Jamie, so, or whatever, Jordan, whatever his name is. And so if he's ever like messaging his messages, he sees them, but nobody else does, which is funny because he's probably been freaking out thinking that nobody's responding to him anymore. And his comments are just hidden, which I find even more funny than just banning someone. But anyway, this is all very, very accurate. There was a huge glut. It's interesting that he was putting Redfall and Stalker 2 in the same category, implying that they would be releasing in similar time frames. But apparently not. Apparently, you know, we got Redfall kind of shoved out the door. Stalker 2 is still somewhere. We'll see. But he goes on. We keep talking a bit AAA a quarter in the service, and it feels like we are likely to go through a gap of almost 16 months between big exclusive launches on our platform. Halo Infinite being our last on December 8th, 2021. This is really a disaster situation for us given all we've invested in content across studios at our Game Pass content fund. We need to learn from this and build a plan forward. So he puts it, he says it's a disaster situation. 16 months of no big games coming from first party studios is a disaster to him, which is cool. It's cool. I mean, I admire the candidness and him just being honest with it and not being in total denial. It feels like every time I've ever seen an email leaked from like Jim Ryan, it feels like he's just like in another dimension. Just kind of like a prick, but at least Phil is being real. I feel, you know, he's being honest with himself and with everybody on the team. In terms of learning, I think we need to get much better at overall portfolio planning on our games with real honesty on dates. Doing this from memory, from summer 2021 through December of 21, we had an amazing lineup of games that with Flight Sim to Console, Psychonauts 2, Age 4, Forza 5, and Halo. There were good 3P games in that time frame as well, like I don't know what 3P is. Like Back for Blood, we set a very high bar in 21 on quality and pacing of content, which was awesome to see. But to come off of that year with no big exclusives launching in 22 is a portfolio planning miss that we can't afford. Oh, just third party? Okay, 3P. That makes sense. Okay, third party. Yeah, you're right. I was trying to think like three player, but that doesn't make sense at third party. Yeah, you guys are smarter than me. If we need to delay launches, understanding there's a financial impact of that, to create more regular beats for us, we need to do that. We have to all understand that the situation we are in now is a failure of our planning and production execution. Now, let's roll up the sleeves and get planning on the next 2 years of games. We need to build an accurate list of new game launches that are coming in the next 24 months with expected dates. For now, I don't want to litter this list with content updates or seasons for existing games. We need launches. Let's build this across first party, second party, and third party, looking at Game Pass launches. I think we're going to see that our next big game launch is Redfall, hopefully. Who's going to tell him? I'm not aware of the Stalker 2 dates, but I saw that the studio delayed indefinitely. Are there other games we can get? I know the overall portfolio is fairly light from third party, but let's dig. We also need to get some clarity on our internal launch dates. I'm sending this now as a real pressure for Tamarind. Is that somebody? No. What's Tamarind? And how we are going to show up in terms of dates. It will be very obvious to the community with both our lack of updates on so many games and lack of clarity on almost everything in the show that we are out of position. I need us to work this as leaders. We've dealt with difficult situations before. We'll do it again. I'm frustrated by where we are, but we'll get through that. Most important is building a winning plan. Let's get on that, Phil. Pretty clear and concise. I think he makes very good points to his team. And the part that I find most interesting, where was it? Yeah, if we need to delay launches, understanding there's a financial impact of that, to create more regular beats for us, we need to do that. So and this reflects what we've seen over the last year and a half, 2 years, is that they've delayed a lot of stuff, but they're trying to get in this position where they can have big releases once a quarter, basically. And I think that's a better approach. Like, Sony has struck a really good stride of having a big game that generates interest during the holidays and Black Friday. They're going to have that with Spider-Man 2. And so they sell a ton of consoles. They sell a bunch of bundles. They get a bunch of people excited to boot up their PS5 again. And they do that on a very regular basis. And that's just what you have to keep doing. As for other stuff, yeah, Damp, that's one thing we can address. They did also leak, or I guess it was leaked. Let me see if I can find the exact thing. Okay, so this is the post. Title release schedule. This was also from their internal schedule list of releases. They say fiscal year 20, Doom Eternal and DLC, Elder Scrolls Online Greymoor, Fallout Wastelanders, Deathloop, free-to-play or mobile, Project Whirlwind, Fallout Shelter Online. Okay, they've got all these scheduled. Fiscal year 21, Starfield. Y'all know how that went. Elder Scrolls Online expansion, Redfall. Jeez, these games were delayed so much, dude. It's crazy. When does their fiscal year end? Does anybody remember? I can Google it up here too. Hold on. They run from July 1st to June 30th. So this would be fiscal year ending in 21. That's crazy. That's crazy. I mean, it's wild how much these have been delayed. Like, that's what's really striking me. The, like, fiscal year 22 Indiana Jones game was set to release, and a DLC for Starfield. Like, the game was supposed to be out with a DLC by now, with the Indiana Jones game and an Oblivion remaster. Like, what? It's wild. And then they had very far down the line, in the same year as Elder Scrolls 6, they expected to have a Fallout 3 remaster, a sequel to Ghostwire Tokyo, which I would guess has been canceled because I don't think it did that well. Dishonored 3. But man, it's just wild. They also released this information about their future expectations for what they're doing for their next generation of consoles. And as I've said at this point for years, Psychic here, I've said for a long time, I think the future for some of these big AAA games, especially open world adventure RPGs and stuff, is to transition into cloud-based AI computation. So when you're playing something like a Cyberpunk game, all of the NPCs, all of their AI, all of that stuff is processed in the cloud. You can even integrate like Chat GPT and stuff like that to have dynamic conversations with NPCs. All that happens in the cloud and then comes back down to the console. It's going to trigger a lot of people. It's going to freak a lot of people out because you will need to be connected online to have these huge games with ridiculous like dynamic content like that, which is part of their strategy. You know, it's much harder to pirate a game when you have to be connected to their official servers, which is great for them. But I think this is where they're clearly pivoting. Ubisoft has already shown off their new Fractal engine tech where they aim to do this type of thing. Xbox is moving into it. PlayStation's moving into it. So I would not be shocked at all if in like 5-6 years, pretty much every single game you play is going to need to be connected to the internet. Right now, how they justify it is like, oh, well, it's to make sure we can send quick updates to players and stuff. What I think they're going to continue doing, though, is like everybody knows that's not a very good excuse. But when they're like, no, the game physically does not function without being connected to the servers. That's their built-in excuse right there. Like, it's very clear this is where they're all going. Xbox, PlayStation, Ubisoft, EA, Take-Two. They're all going to be doing this always online, server-based AI stuff. And it will enable them to do some cool stuff, I'm sure. But just be ready, because there's going to be a lot of games coming from these big studios that probably can do cool stuff, but that require always-on connections. Yeah, you will own nothing and be happy. Yeah. It's just, it's clear they've been going towards this for like a decade, and now they're just reaching it. So buckle up. Buckle up. But they showed off some of the other stuff that they're expecting, and the way they describe it is really, really interesting. Develop our next generation hybrid game platform capable of leveraging combined power of client and cloud to deliver deeper immersion and entirely new classes of game experiences optimized for real-time gameplay and creators. We will enable new levels of performance beyond the capabilities of client hardware alone. Fancy way of saying we're going to use the cloud to complement the native hardware to try and do cool things, such as having like AI and things like that processed in the clouds and then sent back down to the players. Or like if you played the betas or anything of the finals, that's a good example where the finals is a game with destructive environments, and it's a co-op or a multiplayer game where you're all in teams fighting and you can just blow up buildings and stuff. And all of the destruction is handled on the server side, so everybody can blow up buildings and like everybody's experiencing the same physics of the building collapsing. Instead of it being processed on each console or PC, it's handled in the cloud. That's what they're talking about, being able to do stuff like that for every single game. So you're no longer required to have like the top of the line PC to get something like maybe even potentially eventually to have graphics on the level of like Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty with the path tracing. You'd be able to pair it with the cloud computation to try and meet in the middle or something. So that's their vision. And I do think it could lead to some really cool experiences, in their words. But buckle up, because the blowback's going to be crazy. Because a lot of these games are going to require permanent online connections. Not like you can disable it and you just won't get updates, but like if you disable it, the game won't work because it needs that. Just like the finals won't work offline, even if you're going to be like, hey, I have a supercomputer, let me process it all on my PC. It just won't. It has to be connected to the cloud. So this seems to be their vision for it. And if you think this is just Xbox, I think you're very naive. Sony is doubling down on this as well, as is Ubisoft, as is every other major publisher. So in 5 years, I think every single game is going to be like this. And because all of them will be doing it, there's nothing we can really, like, we don't have leverage. They're like, you're a gamer. You want to play video games. Every video game releasing this year requires an online connection. Deal with it. and we won't be able to say or do much of anything. Like there's no, okay, we'll just pivot and we'll go over to this. Like we can play like a Larian game. We can play Baldur's Gate 3 again because it's going to be like 6 years before we see the next Larian game. But those examples are going to be very few and far between. Very, very few and far between. They expect it to come out in calendar year 2028. You can see that how they kind of phrased it all was with the original Xbox, the main feature was Xbox Live with DirectX innovation. 360, they brought Kinect and the digital media store. In 2013, they had the Xbox One and the security processor. I don't even remember what that was. Game Pass and DirectX innovation. That was also like later in the generation. And maybe this has to do with like the media box stuff they were doing where it was like a cable box, but I don't know. I'm not keen to talk about that. And then in 2020, they brought Project X Cloud as one of their main features there with direct storage. And that's certainly true. xCloud is very impressive. The direct storage is super cool. Allows for some cool stuff. I still don't think we've seen a lot of games take like strong advantage of that. But we'll see. I think it's probably held back by the Series S a good amount, but whatever. And then next gen, they're talking about calendar year 2028. Cloud hybrid games, immersive game, and app platform. And here's one thing to just bear in mind. All of these console manufacturers tend to stay pretty close to each other because they want to make sure that third-party devs can bring their game on PS5 to also the Series X and vice versa. And that was true of the Xbox One gen, of the 360 gen, of the Xbox gen. They always try to keep the console performance roughly in parity. So if Microsoft thinks that they can build out their cloud hybrid games where this is like the main feature. Maybe this is only for first party. Maybe it's only for first party. But I would guess one of their main goals is that they're seeing that Sony is also working on stuff like this. And this is just what third party games are going to be like. They're all going to require cloud infrastructures and stuff. So don't have to like it. It just is what it is. I mean, that's where it's going. Cohesive hybrid compute, cloud to edge architecture across silicon graphics and OS, enabling ubiquitous play. So they're saying cloud to native hardware architectures designed around both the silicon, the graphics themselves, and the OS. So parts of the graphics can be processed in the cloud, parts of the OS, like it's crazy. The cloud will be half of the console. It could mean that we could see consoles cheaper than we've ever seen before because they're all going to be glorified, like just cloud streaming boxes, let's be honest. But that seems to be where they're imagining this going. And then AI and multi-language enablement, optimization and acceleration of game performance, operations, and development for players and creators. Yeah, I think you're going to start to see like Microsoft is the majority holder, or I guess they own like 49% of OpenAI, I think it is. But they own a good old chunk of OpenAI to get their ChatGPT integrations. And we've already seen people integrate that with mods into like Skyrim, where you can have conversations with Skyrim NPCs. It's crazy cool. And I think you're going to start to see that kind of thing implemented with big games as well. And then they say, I don't know what this even means, open and extensible game and immersive app development platform. I have no idea what that means. I'm going to be honest. No idea. And then they go in, powered by AI and multi-language models. Super resolution deep neural networks. So again, just like DLSS, FSR, that kind of thing. Frame rate interpolation. So frame generation, as far as I understand it. xCloud latency compensation. That's hopefully implemented because right now latency with xCloud is a problem. Game experiences, AI agents, codecs, and RL based. Codecs and RL based. Okay. So AI agents are going to be used to give unique experiences, like again NPCs being able to just have open conversations with you. Matchmaking and player ranking. Yeah, use like AI to help with player matchmaking. That could work, I guess. Thank you, Alphatron. Eventually consoles will go away. Prepare for that. Yeah, and I mean, I think the vision makes sense. Like, especially as cloud infrastructures get better and better and connectivity gets better, I can understand why these guys are like, yeah, you'll just pull up your phone and you can just stream whatever game you want straight to your phone. You don't have to buy a $500 device for that. I get that vision. I understand why they're excited by that and why they see that as the future. I think it has a long way to go before that's really viable, but I do understand why they think that's the future, because it is just seamless and effortless. I get it. Creator efficiency, AI game testing. Use AI to test your game for you. That's cool. Procedural content generation. Yeah, procedural content. Hashtag Starfield. Physics and inverse kinematics. Cool. NLP, neural network language processing dialogue generation, maybe? I'm not sure. Player services, safety, and toxicity. It's funny to see toxicity on an actual like official slide for Xbox. Personalization and discovery support services. Yeah, and so each thing yellow also, they are currently in research and proof of concept phases. And then with this, all of this already exists. They say they're implementing this where they're like scanning dialogue coming through Xbox Live chats, and voice speeches, dictation basically from your conversations in chat, and then transcribing it, making sure you're not saying anything like super toxic or anything, which is cool. Engagement and retention management, monetization improvement using AI to help with that, and cloud resource optimization. Interesting. I mean, it just seems like they are trying to come up with what's the next step for gaming and for their platforms. It's tied up in a lot of like AI stuff, which of course makes sense because they own a good chunk of open AI and they want to utilize that. But the big thing, and I'm telling people now so we can prepare, because once they officially announce this, there's going to be a lot of blowback. They're clearly moving towards everything going cloud-based. So like if you're upset right now about physical games going away, like physical consoles are going to start to be a thing of the past. Like just wait. Just wait. It's happening. Clearly, that's where they see this going. xCloud is being built, as is PlayStation Now, and whatever, NVIDIA or GeForce Now, I think is what it's called now. All of these systems are being built out to give people a way to play these console and PC games through the cloud where they don't have to buy the hardware. And they're in their infancy. But in the next 5 to 6 years, as we approach the next generation, it seems clear to me that they're just going to pivot, and that's going to be the main goal. It's going to be interesting. Surveillance is cool. Yeah, the surveillance thing, like scanning, using AI tools to like auto dictate your chats and stuff in games to make sure you're not like spamming the N-word or something. Like, I understand how people feel that's an invasion of privacy. I totally get that. But for me, you don't have to use their service. Like, if you want to use Discord, do that. If you want to use a phone call to chat with your buddies, do that. Like, I've noticed the people that seem to get the most worried about surveillance are the ones that are doing things that they probably shouldn't be. You know, I've picked up on that a little bit. It's like, oh, well, I'm not worried about this, for one, because I'm just gonna use Discord anyways. And if Discord announced a policy like this, like if I cared that much, I'd probably just go and I'd find another service because another one would pop up. You know, like you don't have to use the service. And it's always funny to me that, you know, if you're a very rah my freedom type of person, which is totally cool. A lot of my family is that way. I totally get that, but like at the same time, it goes both ways. You have the freedom to not use their service. If you don't want to have your stuff transcribed so that it like is filtered out if you're toxic, and you'll get banned if you're being toxic, according to their algorithms, then like, okay, you don't have to use their service. But a lot of people will use their service because they like that they don't have to worry about that toxicity anymore. Which for me especially like as Lachlan and Orion grow up, I could look at it and be like, I want them to be able to play online games with like their friends. And I really like the idea that they're scanning actively the chats, so I don't have to worry about some adult coming in and saying horrible things to my child as they're playing online games in like Fortnite or something, you know? So it's a free market out there. You don't have to use the service if you're upset by the policy. It's just always so funny to me when people like rant and rave about some weird policy on like Twitch, and then they keep using Twitch. I'm like, if you're upset by it, go somewhere else. Like, it's really not that simple. Or it's really that simple. Like, it's not that complicated. Yeah, Proto, and I get that. Companies absolutely can misuse your data and absolutely abuse that, which is why I'm all down for regulations mandating like deletion of data and things. Like, you guys remember that whole Ubisoft oh my god, Ubisoft's deleting our data if we don't log into our account for 6 years. That was like a scandal. And then it came out that was because the EU has regulated that companies can't just endlessly hold on to your data if you don't like consent to it in the terms of service. They have to delete it. That's why they had to delete those accounts. It was not some grand scheme on their part to just make you buy games again or something. It was because they were mandated by the European government's overriding bodies to do that according to policies that regulated that data possession. And I think like if we had policies for all of this stuff and regulations to make sure that any audio recordings are not saved but they're immediately deleted, stuff like that, I would be fully supportive of that. And at my understanding from their explanations was that the real-time transcription that takes place in those Xbox Live chats is not being stored. It's not like they're saving it as a .txt or something to blackmail you with later. They are real-time transcribing it to see if there's violations that pop up using their language learning models. And then if there is a violation, they take that, file that away as why you were banned, so that if you appeal and it was mistaken, you can get reinstated. But everything else is dumped. Like, they don't care that much about you chatting with your friends about random crap while playing Minecraft. Like, they really don't care that much. There's also some Discord drama Mudahar covered. I believe it. I mean, Discord at this point is huge. It's kind of baffling to me that there hasn't been more drama, honestly. It feels like there should be. Like, you know, where sometimes you're like, the storm is quiet now. There should be more drama, probably. Oh, dude, speaking of AI stuff, they're apparently bringing Dolly to ChatGPT. My 5-year-old keeps talking about a super duper sunflower hedgehog. What does it look like? Wow. All of this AI stuff though, like the reaction a lot of people have had reminds me a lot of like some of those old videos of people talking about the internet and stuff like that. Like, one of the funniest things I've probably ever seen was one of the old clips of like newscasters talking about how email is just a fad. And how the internet is going to burn out. People are going to get bored with it and get back to writing letters like normal people and buying newspapers. And now that's insane. It's ridiculous. But it's because the internet was like scary. There were people calling it, like I saw a clip of a news station a while back, back in like the early 90s or late 80s or something. But it was an older clip. And these news broadcasters have somebody on who's like, we need to ban the internet. This is just a means of governmental control and spying, which is perhaps true, and all of this other stuff. And he just went on and on and on. He also threw in that it was like potentially satanic and all this crap. And now all of that's crazy, right? But I think a lot of people are reacting to AI stuff in a similar way, where it's a crazy, huge, powerful piece of tech that could be abused very, very easily. And it should be regulated, in my opinion. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that you should just ban it. Like, I don't see how that follows. You know, the train has started. Is it not satanic? Yeah, it is a little satanic. But like, it's the same thing last year when all the craziness came out surrounding the like Mid-Journey art, and artists naturally were calling for Mid-Journey to be banned by the federal government and stuff, because they said it's like taking inspiration from our artwork and then creating stuff from that, but it does it so quickly we can't even compete anymore. So we're all going to be out of work permanently, because when somebody needs a quick logo designed or the pictures of the hedgehog or whatever, they can just have Mid-Journey generate it for them instantaneously, when it would have taken them days and days of work to do it. And in my opinion, and I'm happy to be corrected if I'm wrong, I just don't see how blocking progress, because it's scary as we understand it now, or because unfettered it could get out of control, I don't see how blocking progress is ever a net gain. You know, because if we block all of this AI stuff, guess who's not blocking it? Like China, Russia, all these other countries that we consider competitors here in the States. They don't care. So it'll still be out there, but we'll just be growing more and more behind, you know? Oh no, we got to stop the printing press. It's doing things we like, but that we like to do, but too fast. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like every time, like when computers came out, they completely destroyed multiple industries of people just because the computers were able to do it so much more efficiently. There used to be people where all they would do is run numbers. They had like little mathematical whatever slide rulers and things that they could use to calculate quickly with multiplication tables and stuff. And all of that is totally useless now because of computers. Or in the same way, like typewriters. There was an article I read during this whole AI stuff when it was getting big, where they looked back at newspaper clippings of stories and op-eds people have written or had written back when typewriters came out, because there were whole industries of people where all they did was handwrite notes and different things. And when typewriters came out, it totally revolutionized it. And all those people were now like basically out of a job because you could just quickly typewrite it and you were good. You know, it's just, I don't think blocking progress is going to help or keep a country competitive at all. I think you got to find ways to work with the new technology, embrace it, regulate it if you need to make it safe. But blocking it is like the most brain dead thing I think you could do. Yeah, without a doubt, the AI stuff is impacting creative arts way more than I think anybody was braced for. The stuff it can do generating images or artwork, even scripts and stories and stuff is ridiculous. It's crazy. I don't think it's going to write like any crazy novel or anything anytime soon, but it is wildly impressive. God Emperor, that's a very good question. That's a very good question. I'm worried about that too. Okay, let's look at this Phantom Liberty review from GameSpot real quick.
Night City was in its impressive scope and dazzling visuals, which painted a bleak, neon-lit future dictated by technological exploitation and unfettered capitalism. Within that were tragic human stories.
That's like the third time I've heard somebody say unfettered capitalism. Is that just like from a Google description of the game or something? I've heard like many different people use that exact phrase when describing it. it just feels weird. It's like deja vu, man. They're all going off the same script. Yeah, it feels like something like that. I don't know, but yeah, it's like very deja vu because it's a very specific phrase, and I feel like people throw it around a lot. Sanavi watchers, yeah, maybe they learn the phrase one time and keep using it over and over and over again, even when it doesn't strictly apply. In this case, I think it does. I mean, the world of Cyberpunk clearly is like a world of unfettered capitalism and corporate overlords. But I heard somebody, what game were we looking at where they used it? And I was like, I don't know if that applies. I don't know. I can't think of it. There was another game we were talking about recently where they said it and it just totally did not apply. Yeah, was it I thought maybe it was Starfield, but I don't think it was a Starfield. I don't know. It was something like totally out of left field where I was like, that has nothing to do with anything. Same thing. It was like maybe it was like Resident Evil 4 remake or something insane. It just didn't have anything to do with anything that was being discussed.
Stories to pull at your heartstrings, and a whole lot of violent action often perpetuated by its gameplay systems. But what if you took the best parts of Cyberpunk 2077 and condensed them into a tight, cohesive package for a heart-wrenching political action thriller?
I do love things that are tight. Political action thriller. Yeah, it's probably that.
That's what Phantom Liberty does as an expansion that seamlessly fits into the original.
Oh, it was Skull and Bones. You're right. Yes, yes. You're totally right. It was Skull and Bones. I was like, it's a game about piracy, and you're saying that it's a world of like unfettered capitalism and stuff. Like, I mean, you could say that back in England, perhaps that's an argument to be made. I mean, not really unfettered, but yeah, for Skull and Bones, it was just like, I don't think he knows what that means. It's just funny. It just came out of nowhere.
Game. It showcases the full potential of Cyberpunk 2077 with a new, captivating story that's intimate, raw, and earnest, told through a strong cast of characters. Its narrative ambitions are contextualized in the missions that drive the plot, which contain top-tier action set pieces to let the revamped RPG mechanics sing, and a variety of tense and well-crafted non-combat scenarios to bring it together. More than anything, Phantom Liberty...
I felt bad in that sequence when I came to it. I just immediately popped a cap, and the mission ended abruptly, but they let you do it. Yeah, I took care of that problem in that little sequence right here real quick. I'll tell you what.
Non-combat scenarios to bring it together. More than anything, Phantom Liberty goes above and beyond with not one, but two finales that are wildly different, yet equally stunning. Hell, even three when counting the new ending for the original story. It's a fantastic mix of nearly everything you could ask of Cyberpunk, and after taking 30 hours to experience all of its content, I just can't imagine Cyberpunk 2077 without Phantom Liberty.
It does, and I'm not just saying this, it feels like the complete package. Like when you're playing through it, it feels like it was always supposed to be there. It's like a really cool side, very, very long side quest where Idris Elba is present for some reason, but it fits so nicely into the rest of the game. I think once you play it, you'll get what I mean. Like it feels as though it should have always been there, which is kind of a very nice thing to say about a DLC. Often DLC are just like, oh, this is very weird and different. It's clearly a DLC, but this one clicks right into place, complements all the rest of it. It's very good. Yeah, this is all, you can tell it's B-roll because it has this wording above it, the ray tracing overdrive mode. This is all B-roll provided by Cyberpunk or by CDPR. So even in the video I posted today describing the situation, you'll also see this watermark over the top because we're all using the same footage.
Before I move on, I do want to note that most of the footage you're seeing here was provided by CD Projekt Red. At the time of publishing this video, reviewers were required to use this gameplay for Phantom Liberty and were not permitted to use their own. Back to business. This expansion acts as another branch to V's main goal from the original story, and one that involves forces outside of Night City, federal agents who make up the new core characters, and Dogtown, a downtrodden militia-run district where most of the expansion takes place. It's hard to ignore the star power of famed actor Idris Elba, lending his voice and likeness to the key character Solomon Reed, who has
And dude, for real, he's so good. He's so good.
a commanding presence in every scene he's in.
only ever risk so much. Sometimes it's just safer to shove the barrel of a Malorian between a Troon's ribs, even if he is on your side. It's nothing personal. No hard feelings, I hope.
But the emotional anchor is Song So Mi, aka Songbird, the world's most talented netrunner. She provides a wonderful contrast and brings the depth required to tell a story like Phantom Liberty's. Reed and Songbird have a deep history working together as longtime FIA agents, and with V caught up in all of it, an intriguing tension constantly hangs over the political and personal drama.
I agree. And of course, no spoilers, no specifics, but we don't know Songbird. We don't know her, but Reed does know her very well. So the whole DLC is kind of like bouncing off of Reed and his reactions to Songbird and taking his advice and hearing his thoughts on what they think, on what he thinks they need to do to either protect or go after Songbird. And so it feels a little disconnected. It would have been nicer if we had had like a chance to meet Songbird and like bond with her. We don't really get that. And that's probably my main complaint with the DLC is like the DLC centers around Songbird and we barely know her until the very end of the DLC when most of your decisions have already been made. But it's just me.
You'll feel better any second now.
V, something stinks here. Think she's f***ing with the relic.
And there to cut the tension is Johnny Silverhand, who's still the charismatic asshole you know and love.
Yeah,
portrayed
baby.
By Keanu Reeves. Surprisingly, he's a lot more introspective, opening up in ways that add a new dimension to his character to relate to the events of Phantom Liberty. He often provides sobering perspectives on the most dire situations, and it's a comforting familiarity when he pops up. When you don't know who to trust or what choice to make, you can rely on Johnny and his smartass one-liners, because at least you know he's brutally honest.
I think we really hit it off.
Sure. Betty's got candy in that van. Ready to find out?
Voice performances come alive with motion capture and animation for scenes where subtleties genuinely add a layer of nuance to these characters, especially for a story told entirely in
Yeah, Songbird can see Johnny and there's a narrative reason for it. I won't spoil it, but yeah, there's a reason.
first person. Those high production values pay off. This confluence of writing, performance, and tech is how Reed, Songbird, Johnny, and other supporting characters jump out from the script and screen in their most critical moments, and become unforgettable pieces of Cyberpunk's world. The big new piece to that world is Dogtown, an independent district within Night City that's been overrun by a militia acting as a de facto government. Slums, dilapidated buildings, and abandoned structures make up most of Dogtown, along with a few luxurious establishments and the lively black market within the football stadium. It's smaller in scale and easier to familiarize yourself with the streets, but when looking across the district from the rooftops, it still gives the impression of a sprawling open world. Although the harsh realities on the ground,
I would disagree with that. It's pretty small. Like, in the context of the expansion, it works really well, but it's pretty small.
are sad to see. Like a post-apocalyptic society barely scraping by, Dogtown has a distinct identity separate from Night City. Part of it is a lawless war zone, but there's another side that's genuinely human with people trying their best to eke out an existence in spite of it all. Phantom Liberty makes great use of Dogtown, smartly embedding much of its main story and side missions within its streets. The absolute banger of an opening mission is emblematic of this design philosophy. As Songbird leads you through the stadium's black market, you get an immediate sense of the town's vibe before all hell breaks loose. Confronting the battling factions in tense firefights or elaborate plays at stealth take place in the open world areas, and you quickly see how Dogtown was made to naturally support missions and combat sequences that feel curated and intentionally designed, and that synergy is a mark of a good open world. Gigs and side missions also litter the streets, and Phantom Liberty prioritizes quality over quantity here as well. While they are side content, gigs play an important role in the flow of the main mission, since your fixer, Mr. Hands, is a crucial contact for favors that advance the story. What's more is that each gig is an elaborate mission rather than an objective to check off of a list.
It's true. All of the new stuff is very well done, except for those dynamic drops.
Adult
You might
Bronco.
mention those.
Name's V. Fixer said you need a hand.
These are action-packed to give them a satisfying gameplay challenge, but they're always accompanied by a heavy decision in the end, which are often made in the heat of the moment. Choices are rarely ever black and white, and these stories paint a vivid picture of what life is like in Dogtown, where the desperation to escape poverty clashes with the very system that people rely on, which also exploits them, grinds them, and spits them out. The results of your decisions may not lead to major revelations, but every gig and side mission is absolutely worth doing. Phantom Liberty also encompasses the 2.0 update, and combat is exciting as ever with explosive set pieces that bring out the best in the overhauled RPG systems. With the revamped perks and skill trees, building your character for specific playstyles has a dramatic effect in combat, and the flexibility of the system which
Oh, I see what they did. What they did is they went in and they captured footage of the 2.0 update separate from their time once they unlocked the stuff for the expansion. So then they were allowed to show this. Clever. Clever. Because I think we're allowed... Well, no, even this. Oh, no. So they could get in trouble for this. Because we're not even allowed to show 2.0 update footage until tomorrow. And this is definitely 2.0 update footage. And I'm 90% sure that this is not B-roll. So they might have made an oopsie.
expertly balances complexity and approachability means you'll create hybrid approaches. Features like the Hat Queue make Netrunner style builds much more viable and intricate. Lightning fast air dashes combined with blades make you a nimble, lethal target who can deflect bullets back at enemies. Stealth can also be worked into any build because the gameplay systems and level design both support it as a viable option. Cyberpunk isn't rigid, and in fact it pushes you to create hybrid builds to make use of all weapon types to overcome Phantom Liberty's intense and challenging battles. These distinct abilities in the skill tree are so fun to mix and match, and like great RPGs do, piecing together your favorite gameplay mechanics feels natural.
Plop. Yeah, you see all these passive effects up here? These are from the new skill tree, where you can just give yourself like crazy dashes, fast healing, all sorts of stuff. That could be from the trailer. Okay, it might be. It might be. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. It looked, because there was like level 44, it looked like it was probably their own footage, because usually in trailers they don't go so slowly.
Stability of the system, which expertly balances complexity and approachability, means
but maybe, I don't know. They seem to have been very careful about the rest of this, so I'd be surprised if they made that oopsie, but...
uses the relic skill tree as well, and while it isn't particularly deep, it adds a wrinkle to the formula with new cyberware like the quick hack infused monowire melee weapon or the arm mounted rocket launcher. Overall, Cyberpunk 2077's RPG identity is stronger than it ever was, and Phantom Liberty's combat scenarios benefit tremendously in this re-envisioned foundation, and it results in a uniquely satisfying gameplay experience. There was never a dull moment when it came to combat, but it's only one part of what Phantom Liberty does so well. The story draws inspiration from spy thrillers, and it's easily seen in the missions where you have to navigate conversations carefully under stressful situations. When it comes down to business, however, making sensible dialogue decisions under duress and often doubting yourself if you made the right one was integral to the experience. Overall, Phantom Liberty isn't so much concerned with giving you freedom to influence outcomes on a large scale until it makes those choices clear. But even when it's on a set track with clear paths, the game is great at contextualizing your decisions to mitigate feelings of pointlessness. Save for a few inconsistencies in dialogue options, its writing is watertight, and I began to care about those minor decisions as I became fully invested in the story and playing the role of my version of V, even if it was just to provoke certain responses. The conversations at Dogtown's park overlooking the unfinished skyscrapers give you time to soak it all in, and sticking around to eavesdrop on conversations between key characters or make a dialogue choice opens small but rewarding opportunities to see characters in a different light. So as wild as the action may get, there's an ever-present groundedness to the journey, making seemingly inconsequential choices add up to form a believable, personalized understanding of Phantom Liberty.
Got this token.
Yeah, I just think in general it strikes a really good balance. It's not like super crazy outrageous. It feels like a spy thriller, but not one that's like super contrived. It just works really well. It really does.
Mean anything to you?
It'll come out with DLSS 3.5. Yes, it will. You have to make sure to update all of your drivers and stuff. But yeah, if your computer can run, or if your graphics card can run DLSS 3.5, it will. And it's straight up magic. It's outrageous.
To make sure.
Keeps his cards close, this one.
With all that laid bare, Phantom Liberty's crowning achievement is in how it executes its closing hours. With 2 mutually exclusive paths at a turning point in the story, the game takes some wild swings that pay off in spectacularly different ways. They'll hit you with unexpected twists that leave you questioning whether or not you did the right thing, wondering why you feel empowered yet powerless, and pondering the age-old question, what was it all for? This is one case where I implore anyone who plays it to see both routes. One, because of the drastically different and superb gameplay experiences they offer, but more importantly, together they complete the full picture of Phantom Liberty's ambitious story. And on top of that, the new ending for the original story, earned by fulfilling certain conditions in Phantom Liberty, is the cherry on top. It recontextualizes the cyberpunk journey in powerful fashion. But to talk about the emotions it teased out would be to give away too much. But I must say that CD Projekt Red outdone themselves with this one, delivering the type of ending that very few games are able to get right. So from almost every angle, Phantom Liberty is Cyberpunk 2077 at its best. CD Projekt Red has taken the lessons from the original game and focused on the parts that mattered most to deliver a thrilling and impactful experience that doesn't overstay its welcome. And although it fits into the original story, it leaves a lasting impression that rewrote my perception of Cyberpunk's world. From a gameplay perspective, Phantom Liberty takes full advantage of the fantastic overhaul of the RPG systems for combat, then elevates the intimate dialogue-driven elements that make it unforgettable, and does so in spectacular and inventive fashion in its conclusions. Beneath the violence and edginess, the actual cyberpunk world is always going to be about the toll on human life, and Phantom Liberty largely understands that. It's a cruel, sobering, and bittersweet tale that will stick with you well after V lays down their weapons.
A 10. I mean, I think it's very, very good. It has some quirks, but it really is very good, which is why it's all the weirder that they've been so coy with gameplay footage and stuff. Because they should be like, yeah, please, everybody look at it. Everybody check it out. It's great. You know, it's just odd that they don't. Did it feel like a story carved out of the main game? I get in a way, like it feels like it belongs in the base game. Like if it had launched with this, I wouldn't have batted an eye. It would have been the best quest line in the entire game without a doubt. Because I think it is. And in a lot of ways, and there's no way to describe this without just spoiling it, but there are some sequences in this that are like higher production value in my mind than anything we had in the base game. Like very, very good. No bugs or glitches. No, I did have some bugs and glitches, but I could not. I can't show you because I'm not allowed to show my own gameplay, but I can describe them. One glitch I mentioned earlier was that at one point I was just fighting in a street and then I just kind of got weirdly teleported into the rafters of an underpass and I was clipped in and I couldn't move. So I had to die and then reload and reset. It's the only time I saw anything like that happen. So it was probably a one-off, might have already been fixed by launch, who knows. But that was weird. The other one was like at one point I saw some pop-in where there was a portion of the map, a little like shipping yard with shipping containers and stuff, was just empty. There was just like you could see down into the skybox underneath the world and everything. And so I tried to drive into it, but then right as I reached it, everything loaded in. So there was that, but that wasn't even in the new area. That was in the rest of Night City. I happened upon it. So it was very weird. And then what was the other one? Oh, there's a thing where like Reed's pistol. Reed, it's probably the biggest one. He carried his pistol with him in his right hand, like for the entire expansion. After about a quarter to a third of the way through, I noticed he was carrying his pistol even in really weird circumstances. Like he'd be sitting at a bar and we'd be talking and like it would be clipping into his face as he's sitting like this with the pistol still in his hand. I was like, I don't think that's supposed to be happening. And then he would like type on a computer with the pistol still in his palm and stuff. Really, really weird stuff. And so I have some footage of that I'll show in the review on the 26th. But yeah, Jackie had the same glitch in the base game. Yeah, it's just something where it doesn't trigger putting it away. So it leaves it spawned in. So Yeah, big Second Amendment guy. It gave that vibe, dude. That's why initially I didn't bat an eye. I was like, oh, he's just like, he carries his gun with him. He's a secret agent in Dogtown. It's a dangerous place, so it makes sense. But no, like as he's sitting, like it gets really funny. He's sitting like at the basketball court, just taking things in with his hands like this, and then just a pistol between his fingers, just like kind of putting it up his nose. And so like it just looked ridiculous in a lot of weird instances. So there were weird times like that, but my understanding is that that's something they're working on fixing. So, did you see Phil Spencer liked one of your clips on Twitter? No. Oh, is it the one with him doing his where we found him in Fallout 76? I didn't see that though. If you have a link to it, that'd be cool. It'd be super cool. Yeah, no T poses that I saw. No T poses that I saw. I had a recurring glitch in every playthrough where Panam would just not put away her sniper rifle after finding Hellman. It's really funny. Yeah, it was kind of like that, where it's just like, bro, stop. Like, I get it. Rah, rah. You know, very 2A. You're right. DLSS 3.5 looks crazy. It's crazy. The stuff they're able to do with ray reconstruction, like, no joke, I was running it on overdrive, which is full path tracing, the most gorgeous lighting I've ever seen in a video game, full stop. And I was still at like 90 frames a second at 4K. Just outrageous. Outrageous. Rated out of 10, I'd give it a 9. I think like in terms of scope, the fact that it's shorter for $30, I don't love it. That it's shorter like that. After you finish it, I don't think there's much reason to stay in Dogtown. The dynamic stuff they do isn't very compelling. It's like another supply drop happened in the same exact spot as it has dropped every single time you've been over here. So that's where I'd say there is a new mini game. I think it's also available in the 2.0 update though. Pretty sure. 3.5 is available for 3070 cards. I'm not sure. You'll have to Google it. I'm not sure off the top of my head, honestly. Yeah, I'm using a 4090. So granted, that 90 FPS is running on top of the line hardware, but if you're running on like a 1440p monitor or something, I think you'd be surprised at how well it will run. It's only 40 series. Well, there you go. So only 40 series for 3.5, but you can still do ray traced, you know, at performance ray tracing, and it'll still look crazy good. 3.5 is available for 30 series. Oh, well, there you go. I don't know who to believe now. Is there New Game Plus? I don't think so. I don't think so. I didn't try it if there is. I just was restarting and using different characters and saves, but I don't think there is. Starfield or Cyberpunk? As it is now, for me, Cyberpunk. When they launched, Starfield all the way. But as it is now, yeah. Yeah. Only frame generation's locked to the 40s. Okay. So frame generation is locked to the 40 series, but DLSS 3.5 is available on 30 series and some 20 series. Okay. But 1,000 planets. Yeah. And when you guys play this, you're going to understand why it felt like, why I was saying that it felt as though Starfield was so out of date compared to what other games are doing. It's just not even close. It's ridiculous. Yeah, Starfield has official DLSS support now, is my understanding. And yeah, there's mods for it. Yeah. But it's officially supported now, I'm pretty sure. I think that was one of the first patches they did. or not yet. It's still coming. Oh, they've announced DLSS support. It's not here yet. You still have to do it through a mod. Okay. Well, they tried. Man, I don't know. I don't know what's happening anymore. And an FOV slider. How would I rate Mirage? If I had to guess where Mirage lands, I'm guessing it's in like the mid 80s on Metacritic when it launches. I think it's going to be pretty good. I think Assassin's Creed fans are going to love it. It's going to feel like a cool return to form. But don't expect anything crazy. Like, it looks like Valhalla. It doesn't look like anything. Jordan, Jor Raptor, he was saying that in person when he was playing, it looked far better. He said it looked like they've made a ton of graphical improvements over the last few years since Valhalla. I'll say when I was playing it, of course it was streamed to me, but they provided the raw footage recording, the same type of footage recording that they gave to Jor Raptor and everybody else, recorded straight off of the gaming PC. And based on that recorded footage, the native recording footage, I still feel like it looks like Valhalla. I don't feel like it's made any huge jumps or anything. It's my personal opinion. We'll see when the game fully launches, but I think fans of the franchise are going to like it. It's not going to win any Game of the Year awards or anything, but I think it'll do well and it'll be received pretty positively. Oh yeah, people are asking about the podcast. It looks like we're going to be doing the podcast on Friday. Mr. Jor Raptor had something pop up today. Thank you, Dante. I appreciate you. Thank you. That's crazy. I love hearing when people found the channel and found my content and stuff. It's always so fascinating to me. It's super cool. It's super cool. Well, everybody, I'm going to call it there because for one, I'm very hungry. I'm also about to pee myself and I've got to record a couple of things for the next couple of days. So I'm going to go jump on that. You guys are amazing. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for chilling. I've had a glorious time. Tomorrow, a video will be going up looking at the 2.0 update of Cyberpunk 2077. So make sure to subscribe, ring the bell over there for that. And then on whatever the 26th is, what's the 26th? Oh my God, can I just not pull up the calendar? There we go. So Tuesday is when the full review of Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty will go up because I'm not going to put it up with B-roll footage. That's dumb. So yeah, another video will be up tomorrow and then Tuesday full review will be up and everything. We'll be back on Friday for the podcast and maybe we'll do a members only stream or something tomorrow for fun. I don't know. We'll see how we feel. Much love, everybody. We'll see you. Hugs and kisses. I love you dearly. And I'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.